going on, Tim?
How's it going?
Good. You watching the Bruins game right now?
Yeah, I am. And hang on 1 second. You like that, Shane?
So back to inside the ice, while Tim's being a dumbass. We got as always, we got an action-packed show for you today. We're going to talk about everything going on in every division, as always, and we got some news about the new COVID protocols in the NHL, players that are on the COVID list, and the downfall of certain teams, specifically right now, the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, they're getting fucking slaughtered. They're scoring goals, but they're also getting a lot of goals against. Like, Holtby was definitely not the answer right there.
I don't know if it was Holtby or if it's just the team in general, but yeah, like if you would have asked me at the start of the season how the Vancouver Canucks what they would have been like after the first 17 games, I would not have said 6-11.
I would
There's
have
no way.
I would figure they'd be in the top four, if not like like in fifth.
Yeah, and I mean the goaltending has not been good at all for the Canucks. Holtby and Demko are both well at the bottom of the league in goals against average. I think Holtby's is like 4 point something and Demko's is 5. That is not an NHL goals against average.
No, they've played 17 games, so they've already allowed 66 goals against. Like, that is horrendous. How are you supposed to win any games when you allow that many goals?
Well, you can't. And I mean, does this all fall on the goaltending for the Canucks? Does it fall on coaching? Does it fall on the players not doing what they need to do?
I mean, they've lost 6 in a row at this point. Like, I think it falls on the team as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be like, oh, our goalie was shit for 6 games in a row. Like,
right.
You're never going to be able to say that. Of those 6 games, there's got to be some games where we should have scored more goals. We should have done more offensively. Like, I just feel the way that Vancouver plays gets them exposed real quick. Like,
yeah. And Heather just in the comments there, how's Edmonton doing? We will get to that in a moment. I did actually
we'll get to that.
We will get to that. I did actually stand correct myself. Holtby's GAA is 3.75. Demko's is 3.74. So still not good.
No.
Good. Holtby's save percentage is 0.885 and Demko's is 0.896. Those are not nearly where the numbers have to be an NHL goaltender.
No, absolutely.
And you know, I was like shitting my pants when Vancouver picked up Braden Holtby. I was worried because I was like, man, every single goaltender in the league is better than what the Oilers have. Because, you know, the Flames had Markstrom, Vancouver got Holtby, Ottawa got Matt Murray, and then you got Carey Price, Frederick Anderson, Connor Hellebuck. Like, every single goalie was better than what the Oilers have, but the Oilers are 9-7 through their first 16 games.
Yeah.
3-game winning streak. They've won 6 of their past 7. And I'm pumped.
Yeah, but how many of those games were against Ottawa, man?
That is true. That is true.
How many of those games were against Ottawa where like a midget team could beat that team? Like, Matt Murray is getting exposed every night.
Yeah. And I mean, Matt Murray has been better. He has been better, don't get me wrong, but Ottawa's weakness right now is Marcus Hogberg, the backup goalie. They need a backup goalie. Hogberg is not the answer there. I mean, it's just not happening. And I mean, I was not getting excited about the Oilers playing where they won 5 of their last 6. And then they played Montreal last night. They shut out the Montreal Canadiens 3-0. And then I was excited. I was like, man, we're actually playing good. But yeah, Oilers have played Ottawa in they played Ottawa twice, they played Toronto once, Montreal once, and then Ottawa twice.
All
Or
right.
sorry, Ottawa, Calgary, Ottawa, Montreal. So 4 of their last 6 games have been against Ottawa. They won all 4. I'm not convinced yet. They got a home series against Winnipeg. Then they go and play, I believe, Toronto, and then they play Calgary. So we'll see how they do there. But yeah, they're looking good. And the Oilers actually, the NHL's COVID cases have all been in the States, but the Oilers actually had the first case of COVID in Canada. Jesse Puljujarvi tested positive, was put on the NHL COVID list, and all the other players tested negative. The Oilers Montreal game was pushed back an hour last night. This kind of takes a weird turn now because the NHL they've introduced more rapid testing for COVID, and I think it's a good idea.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
With PCR testing daily.
The the less that we can postpone games and shit, like the less playoffs is gonna get messed up because yeah, where there's teams that have played 14, 15, 16 games, but there's also teams that have only played like 9 games.
Yeah. And I mean, we're almost a week into, tomorrow will be a month into the NHL season.
Yeah.
And there's teams that have played 9 games in a month because of this. So, yeah, like there are teams that, have been added to the NHL's COVID list today. The big names that were added were Steven Stamkos of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then Flyers forwards Oscar Lindblom and Scott Laughton have both been added to the NHL's COVID list. And there's also the Flyers are close to postponing their games because now you got Lindblom, Scott Laughton on there. Then you got Justin Braun, Claude Giroux, and Travis Sanheim all on the COVID-19 list. And you got New Jersey, who plays in that division, all their games were postponed. Buffalo, all their games were postponed. So it's multiple teams in every division, right?
Yeah, it's a struggle, for sure. And I'm just interested to see how the schedule is going to play out. Because, we have 56 games to play, but if each team is getting COVID positive tests, what the hell are we going to do?
There's been 35 games so far that have been postponed. No postponements tonight. We got 2 games on the schedule tonight: Boston and New York, and then we got St. Louis and Arizona. And no COVID postponements tonight, but there's going to be multiple tomorrow, I think.
Oh yeah. There's been multiple every night for the past week.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep an eye on that for sure. Now, going back to the Canucks, what do you do next if you're the Canucks with 6 straight losses? Do you make a trade? Do you fire the coach? What do you do there? If you're the general manager, Jim Benning, what do you think you do to improve this team in such a competitive North Division?
In the COVID standings, you can't just make a trade because then if it's between the States and Canada, they're gonna have to quarantine. I believe,
and it's not going to make a team better anytime soon because they got to quarantine 2 weeks.
Yeah. You gotta start from the basics. You have to figure out what's going on in that, and then you have to figure out how we can stop the team. Every team has been lighting up Vancouver. The only way that Vancouver wins a game if they can score 5 or 6 goals.
Yeah.
You can't be allowing 3-4 goals a game and expect to win a lot of games. You have to have games where you get shutouts. You have to have games where you only allow 1 or 2 goals. You can't be allowing 4 or 5 goals and all right, yeah, we have a high-powered young offense that can score goals, but if you're allowing that amount of goals, you're never going to win. So you have to figure out how you can play strong defense and also produce I feel like if you can score 3 goals a game, you should be able to win most hockey games.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. For
Like
sure.
if you can score one goal a period, you should be able to win that game.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I mean, another thing that does not help Vancouver's case at all, 10 road games they've played so far, they've won 2. They're 2-8 on the road in a division where you're playing constantly against teams like Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, Winnipeg. You can't be 2-8 on the road. You're not gonna make
No,
playoffs with a road record like that.
no, absolutely not. Even at home, I'm looking right now. They're 4-3. Like
Yeah.
you, if you were a terrible road team and you were like undefeated at home and you were able to get home ice advantage, then I would say okay, whoopsie do.
Yeah.
But like when you're a team that right now they are not gonna even get any home ice advantage, what are you
Mm-hmm.
gonna do when the playoffs come?
And to put this into perspective, Vancouver has the most goals against in the league, 3 more than Ottawa, who is 2-12-1. And Vancouver's played 17 games. Ottawa's played 15. So imagine that Ottawa wins their next 2 games. They are 3 points back of Vancouver. So
What?
that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. Vancouver needs to really figure out, if they hold a players only meeting or what it is, they really need to figure out what is going on because they're 6-11. It's really like, in a 56 game season, it's pretty much win or go home for them. Do or die.
I just feel like Ottawa is not living up to their expectations at all.
They me neither because they picked up some great players. They picked up, Evgeny Dodonov. They picked up Derek Stepan. They picked up Matt Murray.
And
Cedric Paquette.
and I'm not saying they're supposed to be like a playoff contender. I'm just saying how are you 2-12-1 when you have that many young kids that are that good and you picked up some good players and a good goalie? Like
Yeah.
we do, they weren't going to be a contender this year, but you're that bad. You've only
Yeah.
won 2 games out of 15 played.
But Tim Stutzel has been like he's going to be a superstar in this league for
Oh
sure.
yeah,
100%. He's been the best rookie so far. Hands down. He's got if the Calder trophy was given out right now, he would get my vote. For sure. So we are going to go just a quick recap of the North Division. Toronto is in first, 11-2-1. Montreal in second, 8-4-2. Montreal's also dropped their last 2 games, so they're on a
yep,
little bit of a slide. Edmonton is on a 3-game winning streak. They've won 6 of their past 7. They're shot up into third place at 9-7. Winnipeg in fourth place, 8-4-1. And then Calgary has also won their last 3. They're 7-5-1. And then we got Vancouver and Ottawa. We're gonna go to the East Division. Tim, your Boston Bruins,
yep.
4-0, 4-0 at home. They have not lost a game at home yet. They are. There's only one other team that's undefeated, or sorry, 2 other teams that are undefeated at home, and those are the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Boston Bruins 9-1-2, 20 points in 12 games. They are first place in the league right now, and they have looked pretty damn good.
That I believe they're second behind Toronto,
Sorry, yes, second behind Toronto. Sorry.
but I would have taken first in the league, but yeah, they're looking pretty hot. Ever since Pasta came back, he's been on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tough division, so I don't know what to expect from like the rest of this season because
Mm-hmm.
you have Philadelphia, Washington, the Islanders. Like if you're looking at the standings right now, Pittsburgh is not in the playoffs.
But if you also look at the standings, Washington's in third with 15 points. Top 4 in
Yeah,
the division make it. Washington's in third with 15 points. Buffalo and New Jersey tied for last with 10 points. 5 points separate
yeah,
third to eighth. And
and
this division is going to be like that the entire way.
and New Jersey has only played 9 games.
Yeah.
They've been a terrible team for the past few years, but when you've only played 9 games and you're 5 points away from a playoff spot, I think you're pretty good because there's
Mm-hmm.
3 games right there. You could get 6 points if you win the next 3 games.
And then you're in a
I'm not
playoff
saying
spot.
I'm not saying they'll do that, but if they win the next 3 games, they'll probably be in the top 4.
for sure. I mean, they'd be 7-3-2 if they won their next 3 games. So I mean, 7-3-2 in their first 12 games, I'll take that for sure.
And the whole thing too is before COVID, the Rangers were one of the hottest teams in the NHL. So like, what is like? I'm just waiting for that team to start to click because they got the first overall pick. They were already like cooking. Like, what are they gonna do when they're 20, 30 games into the season?
See, and that's the thing. And the Rangers last season, like you said, they were one of the hottest teams when the season shut down. The Panarin had like 95 points. He was just on a
Yeah,
tear. They were firing on all cylinders, and then COVID happened. You had the season shut down. You came back in August for playoffs. Rangers laid an absolute egg in
absolutely.
their qualifying series.
And they're coached by a good coach too. Like David Quinn, every team that he's ever coached has been successful.
Yep, for
So
sure.
like that team, I think in the next couple of years will make a step forward. I also think that the Islanders are going to be a consistent team in the top four of that division.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean the Islanders' biggest weakness right now is their
they're
road record. Their road record. They've only won 2 games out of their 6 games on the road. They're 3-0-1 at home. Their next game is against Boston, which I believe is either tomorrow or Sunday. Um, but yeah, like that's their only weakness. I mean, the Islanders are coached by Stanley Cup winning coach and Barry Trotz, one of the best coaches in the league. They've
yeah,
got Lou Lamoriello at the helm, at the general manager. So it's just a matter of time before the Islanders start clicking too. But again, you are competing. If you're the Islanders, you're competing against Boston, who's 9-1-2, Philly, who's 8-3-2, and then Washington, who's 6-3-3.
yeah.
And you're competing against Pittsburgh, who's 6-5-1. But I mean, like both the Islanders and Pittsburgh have played 12 games and they both have 13 points.
And looking at this division, I just have to say this: Boston lost Krug and they lost Chara on defense, and everybody was like shitting their pants, like this defense is gonna suck. All of it, like we've played 12 games and they've allowed 26 goals against.
Yeah.
Like somehow this defense and it has to be a combination of the young defense and the goaltending that are just
Mm-hmm.
shutting down everyone because 26 goals against is one of the fewest goals against in the league right now.
Yeah, absolutely. If not, I think the only person that has, or the only team, sorry, that has less than that is Tampa Bay, who is on a completely different level. They're Tampa Bay Lightning are 9-2-1. We're going to shift over to the Central Division. 9-2-1, 6-0 at home, 3-2-1 on the road. I mean, you and I both know how well Tampa plays in Amalie Arena. They always have for the past couple seasons. There's no surprise really that they are at the top of the Central Division. That's I think where everyone had them pegged. But how about the Florida Panthers, the other team from Florida?
They are
Eight,
showing up.
8-1-2.
They are showing up every
I
game. They are showing up.
I never
love
would have guessed that. I love to
I,
see it though.
I love it, but like I I can see it because look at their head coach. Look at the people that they acquired in the past couple of years. Yeah, their like fan section and the people that show up to the home games is always going to be laughable. They'll never be able to sell out an arena.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a solid team right now, and they have a 3-time Stanley Cup winning coach right now.
And not only that, you got to give a lot of respect to their general manager, Bill Zito. He is in his first year as a general manager of any organization. He was the assistant general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets before he took the job in Florida. He came into Florida. He made a bunch of signings, and it's paying off. 8-1-2. Florida Panthers are one of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah.
I love to see it. Florida has been shit for so long. I love to see it, and I mean, I hope they can continue it because I would love to see what the Florida Panthers can do in the playoffs.
Well, here's just an interesting like fact, and I know if COVID didn't hit, we probably wouldn't have the standings because we wouldn't be playing inter divisions. But if we were to go back to like the Atlantic, the Metro, the Pacific, and the Central Division,
Yeah.
based off of how the league standings are right now, It's Toronto, Boston, Tampa, Florida. So the top 4 teams in the league would be from the Atlantic Division right now.
Right. Right.
Like,
Now, I mean that's absolutely crazy. I mean, Florida being 8-1-2 and showing up, and you still have that 3-team powerhouse from the Atlantic Division. For the
yeah.
past 3 years, it's been always been Toronto, Tampa, Boston, top three in the Atlantic. Right. So for Florida to come out 8-1-2, and if we had the regular divisions, I mean they would start to really make a name for themselves and give Tampa, Boston, and Toronto a run for their money.
So would Montreal. Montreal's in 6th overall.
Montreal, exactly. So you got 5 teams from the Atlantic Division in the
Just
top 6.
so what happens when like COVID is over, and are we gonna go back to the divisions before, or are we gonna keep these divisions?
I mean, I would not like to keep these divisions at all, personally, because it makes me nervous already having Edmonton in a division with all the Canadian teams, because all the Canadian teams are decent. Um, Except for Vancouver and Ottawa, but that's a different story. I do think, I mean, Gary Bettman made it very obvious they wanted to go back to their original divisions, have the Canadian teams travel, have a regular NHL schedule just like they have been. So I think it's just a one-time thing, but I hope it is anyways. I do not want to see these divisions permanently. Now, sticking in the Central Division, Carolina Hurricanes also showing up 8-3. They've only played 11 games. They were one of the teams that were plagued by COVID-19. 16 points in their first 11 games. Not too shabby about that. They're
7-3-0 in their last 10 games.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. 7-3-0 in their last 10. Chicago is stuck in 5th place. They're kind of in a battle right now. The only thing that they don't have going for them, they're 6-5-4, which is good. Chicago has found their game because they started off the season. I think they were winless in their first 5 games. They were like 0-3-2 to start the season or something. So Chicago, that being said, since their 0-3-2 start, they are 6-2-2 since then. So they found their game. The only thing they don't have going for them is they've played 15 games. You've got Dallas, who is 3 points behind them, but also 4 games in hand. And then you've got Carolina Hurricanes, who are tied with them with 16 points, but they also have 4 games in hand. So that's the only thing. But Chicago keeping pace with Columbus. There's only 1 point separating Chicago and Columbus, and they play the same amount of games.
That's the whole thing with Chicago is, they're competing for that 4th spot, but there's a couple teams that have a lot of games in hand right around them.
Yeah, and I mean, I do see Dallas. Dallas is in sixth place right now. They've played only 11 games, but they're 5-3-3. I definitely do see Dallas making the playoffs. I mean, if I had to pick 4 teams in that division right now, probably Tampa, Florida, Carolina, Dallas.
Columbus is gonna fall off because Tortorella is gonna fucking piss off
Lion A, yeah,
like
100%.
But from what I've read, he mouthed off at a coach, and if you're a new player in a system and you just think that you can come in and mouth off at someone because you're an elite talent, then any coach would probably do the same thing and bench you. But that's just a terrible start. Like,
I mean, it definitely does not help that it's Columbus, and John Tortorella benched Pierre-Luc Dubois right before that trade. And now they get Patrick Laine. Laine quarantines. And now in Laine's first 3 games, he's already been benched by Tortorella. So that definitely does not help matters. I mean, everyone knows Torts is a hard-nosed coach. He's not going to put up with any shit. And, I mean, like you said, Laine comes in, thinks he's an elite talent, mouths off a coach. I mean, you're asking to be benched there for sure.
And to me, John Tortorella is like Mike Babcock, where he got fired for being like a little too old school. Tortorella, I feel like, is the last of that generation, And
for sure.
Like in the 90s, it was like Mike Keenan, where people have said oh, he was terrible as a coach. He abused players and stuff. But I think Tortorella is the last of that, and hopefully Line can figure something out because he is a good hockey player. Like, there's no doubt that he has a lot of talent that he can bring to a hockey team.
He can put the
He
puck
just
in the
needs to
net for
fit,
sure.
he just needs to fit in on the right system, you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, another thing with Columbus too is you've still got, Mers Lincolns and who's your other goalie? Mers Lincolns and I forget who their other goalie is. Can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but two great goalies. I mean, Mers Lincolns has really shown up for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Um, Corpusalo is the other one. That's the one. Corpusalo has been good as well. Do you think Jonas Corpusalo has proven himself to be a starting goaltender?
Uh,
He had
not
a he had a decent season last season.
he did have a decent season. I think he's proven to be a starter, but I don't think he's a goalie that a franchise is going to start to win a Stanley Cup.
I mean, not yet. Anyways, I mean, Corpusalo. You look at him. He's 5-3-2 to start the season. He's 26 years old. So I mean, he's definitely in his prime. He's got a cap hit of 2.2 million. Goals against average is 3.33 right now, which is not good, and a
Well,
save percentage of .893.
we also have to take into consideration that in the past couple of years, I think scoring has definitely increased.
Yeah, 100%. Last season, Corpusalo had a .921 save percentage, which is decent. But looking at the goaltenders right now for Columbus, Elvis Merzlikins is definitely the stronger goaltender. .913 save percentage and a 2.76 GAA. So that's the only thing. But Corpusalo's played more. So, I mean, I don't think goaltending is the problem for the Blue Jackets. They are going to fall off just because of the division they play in. But Lion kind of mouthing off the coach and being benched does not help matters at all. I mean, it's kind of, to me, look at it is as like it kind of drains the whole team, right? When you have
Yeah.
a player that you just got traded to and 3 games in, you're already benched, and all the hype in Columbus surrounding getting Patrick Laine, and then he's benched 3 games in, it kind of drains the entire team and deflates them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no team wants drama besides because then every question, oh, what happened with Laine? What happened with Laine? What happened with Laine? No one wants to deal with that shit. Like
Yeah.
they just want to go out there and play hockey. That's it.
For sure, absolutely. Before we move on to the West Division, the last division in the league, Nashville Predators are 6-8. I didn't have Nashville making the playoffs, but I didn't think they were going to be as bad as they are.
No,
They're 1-5 on the road.
They're terrible. They're horrible.
Mm-hmm.
From the past couple of years that they've been, like they won the President's Trophy in 2018.
Yeah.
And to be the way they are now, I really think it's goaltending. Like,
yeah,
they're just allowing way too many goals for that division.
Is
And
Pekka Rinne still a goaltender for the Predators?
Yeah, it's him and Saros. It's the same. It's the same from like 2017.
So Pekka Rinne has probably declined. I mean, he's 37 years old.
Yeah,
and
he's like the Lundqvist of the Rangers, and
yeah,
Lundqvist has been playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have the Detroit Red Wings, who are the Detroit Red Wings. 3-10-2, 8 points. They're not going to make the playoffs. I'll tell you that right now. And 1-7-1 on the road. They've lost 4 of their last 5. So I mean, the Red Wings are still the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Yzerman still. I mean, he did a lot of work the offseason. But I mean, the Detroit Red Wings, with how bad they were last season. I mean, Yzerman's not just going to fix that in one season.
No, it's going to take years. And this whole, it seems the past couple of years it's been who can make the most moves at free agency to form a team that's going to win a championship. That's not how it works in the NHL. The Red Wings to go, for the Red Wings to go from where they are right now back to where they used to be in the late 90s to early 2000s as winning the cup like every year, it's going to take 2, if not 3, maybe even 4 seasons with a good GM each season. And if you have a bad GM in there one year, he can fuck it up, and you're back you're back at square one right now.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So yeah, it's not going to be fixed overnight. That's for sure with the Red Wings. Now, I want to ask you about this, Tim. We're going to move to the West Division. Before we analyze all the teams in this division, I just want to ask you, what the hell was up with the Vegas Golden Knights helmets last night?
Dude, I almost
That
vomited.
did not look good at all. I don't care. Like, I'm sorry if there's any Golden Knights fans watching this. I mean, you have a great team. They're 8-2-1, but those helmets gotta go. Don't wear them again.
Yeah. And what's the whole point? Why did they wear them? It's not like they would. It's not like they were wearing an alternate uniform. Like they were just wearing their home jersey.
I'm gonna say, like, the Vegas Golden Knights, they have those beautiful jerseys, those yellow jerseys that they just introduced this year. I don't know if those are those aren't the reverse retro ones. Those beautiful yellow jerseys they just introduced this year. I love those ones. Those are my favorite Golden Knights jerseys. If you're gonna wear that ugly ass helmet with any Golden Knights jersey, it has to be the yellow ones.
Yeah.
But those do not look good with just their plain gray home jerseys. I'm sorry, you do not wear those again.
I just don't think those helmets would look good with any jerseys.
With anyone, yeah. Like, I don't know who was the smart one who designed those, but I mean, I don't know, like, what did the Golden Knights players think?
Take when you designed those?
Well, and like, what do the players think? Like, do the players look at those helmets and be like, "Oh, I can't wait to fuck off this helmet"?
Yeah.
No,
they walk in and they're like, "Fuck, I have to wear this tonight." Right. That filet mignon better taste fucking good after the game.
Exactly. Like, so I mean, yeah, puke in your mouth for those helmets. That's the first thing. But they did get the win last night, I believe, right, in the shootout.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, they did get the win last night. But what was that?
You see Crosby get the shootout winner last night?
Yeah, I did. I hate Crosby, but yeah, that was nice.
Yeah,
it was nice. But yeah, Vegas 8-2-1. They're on fire. They've played only 2 road games though, and I think part of that is because of teams like the Minnesota Wild and Colorado Avalanche postponing their games because of COVID. But I mean, they're 8-2-1. Like I said, 7-1-1 at home. They've played 9 of their 11 games at home. So I mean, they're 1-1 on the road. So I mean, we'll have to see kind of how they do perform on the road. But I mean, 9 home games in your first 11 is definitely an advantage for the Golden Knights.
You know what's crazy is I'm looking at this right now, and Anaheim is in 4th in that division.
Yeah.
And I know they have games and like they've played way more games than other teams, but at the same token, what other teams? San Jose sucks. LA sucks. Dude, did we really expect Minnesota to make the playoffs? And Arizona has been that team on the wild card fence for the past like 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So Anaheim, if they can just stay in the race, what would you think if they just snagged that 4th spot in the playoffs?
I mean, they'll probably most likely play Vegas in the first round because like 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3. I can't see any other team other than Vegas taking that division. Maybe the Avalanche, maybe. But as of right now, Vegas is looking really poised to take that division. And if Anaheim plays Vegas, they're fucked.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, it would be good. It would be definitely a building block for the Ducks. I mean, no one really expected them. Everyone kind of expected the 3 California teams to be 6, 7, 8. I know, like, my 4 teams in that division were Vegas, St. Louis, Colorado, and Minnesota. But I mean, Anaheim, like, Dallas Eakins is their coach. And I mean, I will admit, like, Dallas Eakins sucked when he coached Edmonton. I don't know if it was him or if the team was just god awful. Probably a little bit of both. But when I heard that, the Anaheim Ducks gave their AHL affiliate coach Dallas Eakins a promotion to coach the team, I was like, well, this can't be good. I mean, you already got a team that's on the decline, and you bring in freaking Dallas Eakins to coach. But I mean, 6-6-3, 500 team. Things could be worse in Anaheim for sure.
Absolutely. But like, I don't know. Maybe you have a better perspective on it because you're more like West Conference. But I feel like Colorado is going to give Vegas a better run for their money than you think.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely. I mean, they've only played 11 games. So has Vegas, but Colorado's also had their team compromised because of COVID.
the whole
So
thing, they're only between Vegas and Anaheim. It's 2 points.
yeah, and I mean, you look at Colorado; they've got points in their last 5 games, right? They won 3, then they lost in overtime, and then they won again. So they've got points in their last 5 games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, Colorado is still good. They've still got a great team, a great coach. Um, Joe Sakic still does wonders for that team as GM. So yeah, like if any team's gonna give, I don't see St. Louis snagging first spot. I just don't see it. They got a good team. They'll definitely make playoffs. But I mean, you
Yeah.
look at St. Louis's goals for and goals against; they're even at 43. And then Colorado's got a plus 14 goal differential. Vegas is a plus 10. So Colorado, if anyone's going to challenge Vegas for that number 1 spot, it's going to be Colorado. But that being said, if Anaheim does snag number 4 in that division, whether they play Colorado or Vegas, they don't stand a chance.
Yeah, absolutely
You
not.
can't have a 500 team go up against a team like Colorado or Vegas in the playoffs and expect to win. But
I
stranger
think
things have happened, though. Stranger things have happened. Like when the Kings won the Cup in 2012, they were an 8-seed team the entire time. Teams get
and
hot in the playoffs.
honestly, yeah, stranger things have happened, but if I think Anaheim makes the playoffs somehow, I think that's an accomplishment right there. Like
Yeah.
because everybody would know too. Like, oh, they're playing Vegas or they're playing Colorado. There's no way the Ducks gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
But like, at what point are the Coyotes gonna officially be like a contender? Because they've been on that bridge. I feel like
On the block so long.
like they've been on that fucking spot. Like, are
Yeah.
you gonna be a top 3 team in the in the division or what? Or no, you're just gonna be a
And
wild card.
and even with these realigned divisions where you have like, the North, the Central, the East, and the West, if you were to have like if COVID was not a thing and you were to just have a regular NHL season this year and have the regular divisions, you'd have the Arizona Coyotes in the Pacific Division. They'd still be on that block because you got
Yeah,
Vegas in the Pacific Division, who would be first. Edmonton would be ahead of Arizona right now. Anaheim would be ahead of Arizona right now. So even in a regular and not COVID affected season, you still have Arizona in like 5th place
yeah,
and probably holding on to a wild card spot. So yeah, that's where you got to look at if you're a Coyotes fan. You've had that team where you're on the block for so long, and you just need to get over that hump to try to get into playoffs. But they just can't seem to get over that hump. It's just like the Buffalo Sabres.
yeah.
Every single season, they give their fans false hope. They start off so good, and then they just plummet.
All right, but I'll give the Buffalo Sabres this. The Atlantic Division is a little different because we were just saying for how many years was it Tampa, Boston, Toronto in the top 3?
And now you got Florida, Montreal. Even if you had the Atlantic Division, Buffalo would not stand a chance.
No, yeah.
So,
And
so I mean, I do think like these realigned divisions are good because if Buffalo is going to have any chance to break their 10-year playoff drought, it's going to be in this realigned division. Because
and
like we said, they got 10 points. They're tied for last, but also 5 points separate 8th to 3rd.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I kind of like the way that the season is going because I feel like the playoffs is gonna be like mayhem,
Yeah.
and I think that's what the NHL needs right now. Is there was a few years where like there wasn't much action going on in the playoffs, and
Yeah.
like some rivalries needed to be reborn.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is going to be the best place to do it because there's a very, very real possibility that, like, Boston, Philly meet in the playoffs,
Yeah,
or like Philly and Pittsburgh,
or
or
even
Rangers, Islanders.
even Boston, Montreal in the fucking Stanley Cup playoffs. Imagine that.
Boston, Montreal in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Um, very, very real possibility of a Battle of Alberta in the
Yeah,
playoffs,
like
which is going to be like hype as hell. Montreal and Toronto. You know what I mean? So there are
yeah,
some great possibilities for rivalries here. And then like you could have Tampa Bay, Florida. You could have, you know, uh, you know, Anaheim and Vegas, Colorado
because
and St. Louis.
the whole thing is that these guys are only playing interdivision this entire year. So
Yeah,
by the end of the season, that first round, they're gonna hate each other, and then all right, it's the semifinals. We're playing teams that we've never played all year.
yeah.
Like it's gonna be at like I just feel like this year, yeah, it's different, and maybe we don't like the way that it's going, but I think at the very least, it's gonna make for very interesting hockey.
That's the thing, yeah. And I mean, like even like the first round of playoffs and the second round of playoffs will be playing teams from your division, and then you have that one team from each division that moves on to play each other. So then you could have like Toronto play against Boston in the third round of playoffs, and we all know how that series turns out. But it's different in the fact that Toronto hasn't played Boston all year. So
Yeah.
then they have to rely solely on like watching tape and video of the Bruins because they never played them. Strategies change. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Like,
it's gonna be interesting for sure.
all right. So here's the question: what is the division format like when it goes from all right, you win the division, what division plays the like is it north versus west, like
Yeah,
it's on the western conference, and then you got east
yeah,
versus central or whatever?
yeah.
So,
You would have so like let's say I'll give you an example. So let's say the East Division stays how it is. Boston plays Islanders first round. Philly would play Washington. So you'd have 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3.
yeah, yeah.
Two winners would play. So Boston and Philly win, they play, and then you'd have the winner of the East play the winner of the Central.
All right,
Winner of that goes to Stanley Cup against the winner of the
so if
Northwest.
we were to take the number one seed from each division right now, you would have Boston playing Tampa, and then
Yeah,
you would have Toronto playing
playing
Vegas.
Vegas. Yeah, exactly. Um, and what was I gonna get at here? I was gonna get at I just completely lost my train of thought. Never mind. Sorry.
That is the most annoying thing in the world. I actually get like mad when
Yeah,
that happens.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, it's going to make for very interesting hockey, and the playoffs are going to be interesting. Something that I cannot wait for. 25% chance of a Canadian team hoisting the cup this year. I am so pumped. I can't wait. But then you're going to have all those salty Americans being like, "Oh, it's a COVID shortened season. It doesn't count." Blah blah blah.
No. It's gonna be more of it's about time. It's
It's
been since
about time. Yeah.
it's been since 1993 that you guys are fucking. And then you're gonna respond, "Oh well, Canadians make up 80% of the teams in America."
Am I wrong though? Am I wrong?
No, you're not fucking wrong, but I'm also not one of those people that are like, "Oh, Americans are better than Canadians at hockey." No shit, Canadians are better at hockey. It's fucking winter all year round.
Two of your best players on the Bruins, buddy, Bergeron and Marchand, come from up north.
All right. You pump the brakes on those two. You gotta,
um. Okay, Tim. Before we wrap up the show here, I do want to ask you. There was news that kind of came out in the NHL earlier or kind of later last week. Jim Rutherford, longtime GM of the
yeah.
Pittsburgh Penguins, resigned from his position as general manager due to personal reasons. They hired Ron Hextall as general manager. Ron Hextall has been with the Philadelphia Flyers organization for God knows how long, and
He
he goes across the state of Pennsylvania to a rival team, to the Pittsburgh Penguins. What are your thoughts on that?
that blew my mind. Like, say what you want to say about Ron Hextall. When he was in net, he was psycho. I've watched highlights. I've seen him do some crazy things when he would lose his mind. But he was playing in like the high flying '80s where it was Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers putting 5-6 goals a game up a night. So of
Yeah,
course his numbers for goals against isn't going to be that great. But
yeah,
if you look at his save percentage numbers, he was a hell of a goaltender. It just sucks that he always had to go against an Edmonton team to win a cup, and he never did.
yeah.
I can't. I can't even believe that he's going to be the GM of Pittsburgh. Like,
It's gonna be so weird.
because he's also served like as a GM or chief of operations for the Philadelphia Flyers after he retired
Yeah,
in the early 2000s when Lindros was still there. Like,
and everyone knows the Pittsburgh Philadelphia rivalry.
oh
So
yeah,
for
battle,
Hextall to basically say, "See you later, Philly. I'm moving over to your most hated rival." It's just like, wow.
battle of Pennsylvania. But at the same
Yeah,
token, if the Philadelphia Flyers aren't going to pay him for a job, can like he's gonna make money somehow. Maybe he like
yeah. And on that same note, because I think Jim Rutherford was also president of hockey ops.
Brian.
Now you got Brian Burke coming in as president of
I
hockey
think that
operations.
honestly, I think that's a great fucking pair. It
See, I don't know how I feel about that. Like Brian
it
Burke, I have seen his face on Canadian TV for so long, and I mean he's got a great hockey mind. Don't get me wrong, but he hasn't been like he's a former general manager, but he hasn't been like you know behind the bench or making hockey decisions for a very long time. So it's going to be interesting to me to see kind of how Brian Burke does. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do feel like he's more than capable of doing the task. And I mean, Brian Burke, like I said, great hockey mind. Him and Ron Hextall could do some great things in Pittsburgh. But I
all
mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with Berkey going in there.
all I can think of is in 2002 when Canada won the Olympic gold.
Yeah,
Mark Lemieux was captain of that team. Brian Burke was GM of that team, and Ron Hextall was part of that coaching staff.
yeah.
And now we have Mario Lemieux is in ownership of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Brian
Brian
Burke
Burke
and
is
Ron Hextall.
president of operations, and Ron Hextall is GM.
So now
Like,
this pawns the question, and I just thought of a question and a good idea for an article at the same time. Do you think the combination of Ron Hextall and Mario Lemieux drove Brian Burke to Pittsburgh, or do you think Mario Lemieux had a great or had the idea to reach out to Brian Burke and be like, we're going to hire Ron Hextall. Look what we did in 2002 at the Canadian Olympic team. Do you want to come back and try to recreate that magic?
um, I think absolutely Brian Burke was he knew who Mario Lemieux was going to hire for a GM.
Yeah,
That's a fact
yeah,
because like not even I'm from the States and he's all over hockey talk shows. Like
yeah.
he knows everything that's going on. So there's no doubt in my mind that he knew that right from the start or whatever that Hextall was going to get the job. So I think that he knew that Hextall was going to get the job, and he probably was like, okay, no problem with that. I'll go right back to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And I mean,
The only thing is you have to remember Crosby isn't that young, Malkin isn't that young, and you also have an expansion draft next season that you are going to lose one guy and you have to look at your contracts. So it's not like these two guys are walking into a team like Montreal or Chicago or Edmonton where you have younger people that are going to make a name for themselves and make a franchise. You're walking into a team that is in their last year or two before you need a rebuild.
and that's going to be an interesting, in future episodes of this show to come, when we have, like in May or June when the season's starting to wind down. That could be a great topic to think of, is like which teams protect which players.
Yeah.
Because you could see the Seattle Kraken pick up some amazing players. Look what happened with the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas Golden Knights were handed their team They went to the Stanley Cup final their first season.
Oh, Seattle's gonna fucking go at least to the conference final in their first year. I would be willing to bet money on it right now
You think so? Really?
because of how the draft is, because of how the expansion draft is, and look at who are free agents this coming off season. You have guys like Ovechkin, Malkin, Rask. Both goalies in Boston are free agents. Are we really gonna re-sign both goalies?
Can you imagine Alexander Ovechkin going to Seattle?
Like you have
It could happen. It could happen. Ovechkin and Rask.
and you have Malkin in Pittsburgh. Like, is Pittsburgh going to re-sign Malkin? Because Malkin's probably going to want to cash out somewhere. Like,
I mean, Ovechkin and Malkin on the same team could do some dangerous things because they're both from Russia
yeah.
and they're both snipers. They both have had great careers.
And Malkin's the center, Ovechkin's the winger. There's no fucking competition there. It's not like Crosby Malkin anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be interesting for sure. And I mean, I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
And Seattle's back too. Like, they sold out their season tickets so fast. Like, it's not, there's no issues in the market in that city.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, the only thing that could really, hinder any chances of them finding people to big contracts is I'm not entirely sure how the NHL is going to be financially by the time the expansion draft comes because, I mean, you had guys taking deals this season for like low amounts of money. Like Bobby Ryan signed in Detroit for $1 million.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think Bobby Ryan's worth more than $1 million, but I know he's getting up there, but I think he's worth more than that. And it sucks because for how long everybody has known the NHL is the league that athletes got paid very minimum. Like, just look back in the 80s, 90s, people didn't get paid much at all.
They were making like 300, 400,000 a year.
Yeah.
But that was a lot. That was a shit ton of money back then.
Yeah, and that was a lot. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about 300,000-400,000 a year, but compared to other sports,
Yeah, when you have guys in the NBA like LeBron making $40 million a year, it's laughable what the NHL players get paid.
Well, just think of this: what McDavid's the highest paid player, and he makes
12.5. 12.5.
12.5. Okay, you could be an average quarterback and make more than that.
Patrick Mahomes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the highest paid NFL player, and he makes $50 million a year.
Yeah, I believe his contract was like $500 million or something.
Yeah, it was like 10 years for $500 million, $50 million a year.
It's just crazy.
Crazy.
It's crazy in the sports because at the same time, like hockey players, when they play in the NHL for that long, they are like jeopardizing their body. Like when they're 40, 50, they definitely feel what they went through for 15, 20 years,
Yeah. That's just it. Exactly. Okay, so I think that concludes another episode of Inside the Ice, Tim, unless you got any other notes.
No, I ain't got nothing very interesting else to talk about.
All right. Well, I will let you get back to watching the Bruins game. For those of you that are watching this and not the game, Bruins are up 1-0 against the Rangers right now. The third period actually just started. And then you've got in just a really short amount of time, like 45 minutes from now, starting right now, actually, you have the St. Louis Blues taking on the Arizona Coyotes. Boston Bruins, Nick Ritchie scored the goal, 9:27 into the second period, assisted by David Krejci and Jeremy Lawson. And, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Maybe Rangers score another goal.
With 0 goals against, I mean, correct me if I'm
wrong,
but Boston has the best goalie duo in the league right now.
For sure, yeah. And the second period of the Bruins and Rangers game got pretty rough. You had two fights. Jacob Trouba and Brendan Lemieux got into Jacob Trouba and Brendan Lemieux fought Trent Frederick and Charlie McAvoy.
Good.
And then Pavel Buchnevich fought Jeremy Lawson of the Boston Bruins. So it's definitely getting rough. Turn on the Bruins Rangers game.
I just can't wait for rivalries to start. I mean, Edmonton starts playing Calgary, fucking Boston. Like when the original 6 teams start playing each other, and then you have Boston versus Philly. That's gonna get interesting.
I'm excited for the renewed rivalries. Like Boston
Yeah.
and like the Bruins and the Rangers don't really have any rivalries, but
Yeah,
playing each other 8 times a season could definitely happen, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's gonna be fun as the season rolls on. So with that, I will say goodbye, and we'll see you guys probably next week Thursday.
All right.